The marriages of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Debunking accusations and understanding their wisdom. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is a role model for humanity, a figure sent by Allah Almighty to perfect noble character. His life, including his marriages, reflects wisdom, prudence, and mercy for his community. However, amidst his noble character, baseless accusations often arise, such as the accusation of pedophilia related to his marriage to Sayyidah Aisyah, R.A., which was completed when Aisha was very young. These accusations are not only misleading but also ignore the historical, cultural, and prophetic context of his mission. This video aims to refute these accusations with a clear narrative, explaining the reasons behind Prophet Muhammad's marriages, and detailing the sequence of his marriages based on age periods. Historical and cultural context, debunking accusations of pedophilia. Historical and cultural context of the 7th century. Aisha's R.A. marriage to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, took place in the 7th century in Arab society, where marriage at a young age was common and accepted. This was not only an Arab custom but also common in other civilizations. For example, in Europe, like the Byzantine Empire, girls were often married between the ages of 12 and 14 for political alliances. In Asia, ancient Indian texts like the Laws of Manu recommended marriage for girls after puberty, around the age of 8 to 12. In Africa, the Kingdom of Aksum also arranged young marriages to strengthen noble family ties. The age of marriage at that time depended more on physical and social readiness, not just the numerical age. Aisha's age and puberty maturity. According to authentic narrations, Aisha, R.A., was married to the Prophet at the age of 6 or 7, but Aisha began living with Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as his wife when she was 9 years old and had reached puberty. At that time, puberty was considered a sign of maturity to start a family. Aisha, R.A., was known to be intelligent and intellectually mature, even at a young age. She later became one of the most prolific narrators of hadith, proving that this marriage did not hinder her development, but rather positioned her as a teacher for the Muslim community. Divine command in marriage. Aisha's marriage to the Prophet was not an ordinary decision but rather by the will of Allah Almighty. Aisha, R.A., narrated that the Prophet saw her in a dream, where the angel Gabriel showed him Aisha's image as his future wife. This shows that this marriage had a noble purpose, which was to strengthen Islam and spread its teachings through Aisha, who became a great source of knowledge for the community. A relationship full of love. The relationship between Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and Aisha, R.A., was full of love and mutual respect. Aisha described the Prophet as a gentle husband, often joking and supportive of her activities. There is no record that Aisha felt unhappy or oppressed. On the contrary, she grew into a strong, insightful woman and a role model for Muslims. Misunderstanding due to modern standards. Judging 7th century marriages by 21st century standards is a big mistake called anachronism. If modern standards were applied, many historical figures from various cultures would be unfairly judged. The accusation of pedophilia is false and deliberately made to defame Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, without understanding the historical context and divine purpose behind the marriage. The wisdom of Prophet Muhammad's, peace be upon him, marriages. Prophet Muhammad's, peace be upon him, marriages were not merely personal affairs but had purposes aligned with his prophetic mission. Each of his marriages contained wisdom, whether in strengthening social bonds, spreading Islamic teachings, protecting the vulnerable, or building relationships between tribes. Here are some key reasons behind his marriages. Strengthening social and political bonds. Many of the Prophet's marriages were conducted to strengthen relationships with various tribes or groups, facilitating the spread of Islam. For example, his marriages to Aisha, R.A., the daughter of Abu Bakr, R.A., and Hafsa, R.A., the daughter of Umar ibn al-Khattab, R.A., strengthened ties with his closest companions who were the main pillars of Islam. Protecting widows and the vulnerable. Most of the Prophet's wives were widows, either whose husbands had died or who were divorced. These marriages reflected the Prophet's compassion for those in need of protection. For example, his marriages to Zainab bint Khuzaimah, R.A., and Salama, R.A., both of whom were widows, showed his role as a protector. Spreading Islamic teachings. The Prophet's wives, known as Mu'minin, or mothers of the believers, played a crucial role in conveying Islamic teachings, especially to women. Aisha, R.A., for instance, became a primary source of hadith about the Prophet's private life and the laws of Sharia. Demonstrating diversity in marriage. The Prophet's marriages to women from various backgrounds, Arab, Jewish, and Christian, like Mariah, R.A., showed that Islam is a universal religion that embraces all groups. Obedience to Allah's commands. Some of the Prophet's marriages, such as with Zainab bint Jahsh, R.A., occurred by direct command from Allah to abolish customary traditions that were not in line with Sharia, such as the prohibition of marrying the ex-wife of an adopted son. The sequence of the marriages of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, based on his age periods. Here is the sequence of the marriages of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, according to the periods of his life, along with their context and wisdom. Age 25 to 40, marriage to Khadija bint Khuwaylid, may Allah be pleased with her. At the age of 25, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, married Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her, a 40-year-old widow known as a wealthy merchant and a respected woman in Mecca. This marriage lasted about 15 years, until Khadija passed away at the age of 65, when the Prophet was around 40. Khadija was his first and only wife during her lifetime. From this marriage, the Prophet was blessed with 6 children: Qasim, Zainab, Ruqayya, Kulthum, Fatima, and Abdullah. The marriage to Khadija demonstrates the Prophet's loyalty and true love. Khadija was the main supporter of the Prophet when he received the first revelation, providing both moral and financial support for his mission. The wisdom of this marriage was to strengthen the early foundation of Islam, as Khadija was the first woman to believe in the Prophet. Age 50 to 53, marriage to Sauda bint Zama, may Allah be pleased with her. After Khadija passed away in the year 619 CE, known as the Year of Sorrow, the Prophet married Sauda, may Allah be pleased with her, at about the age of 50. Sauda was the widow of the companion Sakran bin Amr. This marriage lasted until the Prophet passed away at the age of 63. Sauda was a loyal and patient woman who helped the Prophet manage his household after the loss of Khadija. The wisdom of this marriage was to provide protection for Sauda, who had lost her husband, and to show that the Prophet cared for the well-being of his community, especially widows. Age 53, marriage to Aisha bint Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with her. At the age of 53, the Prophet married Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, the daughter of his closest companion, Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him. As previously mentioned, this marriage took place when Aisha was 6 or 7 years old, but she began living with the Prophet as his wife when she was 9. Aisha remained the Prophet's wife until he passed away at the age of 63. Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, was a very intelligent wife and played a major role in spreading the teachings of Islam. She narrated more than 2,000 hadiths and became a primary reference in matters of Islamic law, especially those related to women's lives. This marriage also strengthened the bond with Abu Bakr, who became the first caliph after the Prophet's passing. Age 55 to 63, marriages to other wives. After marrying Aisha, the Prophet married several other women between the ages of 55 and 63. Here is the order and the wisdom behind them. Hafsa bint Umar, may Allah be pleased with her. At that time, the Prophet was about 55 years old. Hafsa was the widow of the companion Kunais bin Hudzafa. This marriage strengthened the bond with Umar bin Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, a close companion and the second caliph. Hafsa was known as a strong woman and the keeper of the first written copy of the Quran. Zainab bint Khuzaymah, may Allah be pleased with her. At that time, the Prophet was about 56 years old. Zainab was a widow known as al-Masakin, mother of the poor, because of her generosity. She passed away only a few months after the marriage, making her the Prophet's wife with the shortest marriage duration. Salama, may Allah be pleased with her. At that time, the Prophet was about 57 years old. Salama was the widow of the companion Abu Salama. This marriage provided protection for Salama and her children, and also strengthened ties with her tribe. Zainab bint Jahsh, may Allah be pleased with her. At that time, the Prophet was about 58 years old. This marriage was commanded by Allah to abolish the pre-Islamic tradition that forbade marrying the former wife of an adopted son. Zainab was previously married to Zayd bin Haritha, the Prophet's adopted son. Juwayriya bint al-Harith, may Allah be pleased with her. At that time, the Prophet was about 58 years old. Juwayriya was a war captive from the Banu Mustalik who was then freed and married by the Prophet. This marriage led to the liberation of many captives from her tribe and strengthened relations with the Banu Mustalik. Habiba, may Allah be pleased with her. At that time, the Prophet was about 59 years old. Habiba was the daughter of Abu Sufyan and the widow of the companion Ubaydillah bin Jahsh. This marriage strengthened ties with the family of Abu Sufyan, who later embraced Islam. Safiya bint Huyay, may Allah be pleased with her. At that time, the Prophet was about 60 years old. Safiya was a woman from Banu Nadir who became a captive in the Battle of Khaybar. This marriage showed the Prophet's mercy towards women from Jewish backgrounds and strengthened relations with the Jewish community. Maymuna bint al-Harith, may Allah be pleased with her. At that time, the Prophet was about 62 years old. Maymuna was the last wife of the Prophet, whom he married in Mecca. This marriage strengthened ties with her tribe and showed the Prophet's dedication to his mission until the end of his life. Maria al-Chibtiyya, may Allah be pleased with her. At that time, the Prophet was about 60 years old. Maria was a Christian woman from Egypt who was given as a gift by the ruler of Egypt. She gave birth to the Prophet's son, Ibrahim, who died at a young age. This marriage demonstrated Islam's openness to people of other faiths. Conclusion. The marriages of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, were part of his prophetic mission full of wisdom, not merely personal matters. The accusation of pedophilia regarding his marriage to Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, is a mistaken claim that ignores historical, cultural, and divine context. Each of the Prophet's marriages had a strategic role in strengthening Islam, protecting the vulnerable, and spreading the teachings of the faith. The sequence of his marriages, from Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her, at the age of 25, to Maymuna, may Allah be pleased with her, and Maria, may Allah be pleased with her, near the end of his life, shows that every step in his life was filled with wisdom and mercy. As Muslims, we are called to understand the life of the Prophet with open hearts and clear minds, not with prejudice or irrelevant standards. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, remains a noble example, whose life is a reflection of mercy to all the worlds.